That looks perfect. Excellent.
Finding that, is that still okay?
Yeah, that
Testing,
looks
testing.
perfect. Brilliant.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Sorry, just give me one.
who would like to introduce the show today?
Certainly not me.
Certainly not Amy.
I did it last time.
I did before, so
All
do
right.
it again.
Well, maybe Dougie, do you want to introduce the show today?
Doug,
Yeah.
And then we'll all introduce ourselves, and then we'll start asking some questions.
Yeah.
All right. When you're ready, Dougie.
Welcome to Radio Tutti.
and we have a special
Hello.
guest today.
Special guest today. Yes, we've got the author and poet of non-fiction and stories for mostly for younger people. Janeen Bryan, thanks
Well,
for joining
welcome
us on the show.
to the radio.
Thank you very, very much.
Excellent. It's great to have you here with us. We might just go around and introduce ourselves. So my name's Matt. We're joined by
James, I found you on the one of the kids radio Facebook apps.
Ah, is that how you found me? I did wonder.
and then we've also got
Imogen.
and then joining us
Or
via
you
Zoom.
can call Imi.
Imi, yeah.
Or Imo. It's just a bit of
Imo, cool. I like it. It's a bit like emo, but emo.
Imo.
And joining us via Zoom, we have
Hey.
Me again.
wonderful and the lovely.
Thank you very much, Janeen Bryan.
Pleasure to have you
Welcome.
on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, we might just start asking some questions that we've had prepared. So, who would like to start us off?
I think James.
James. All right, James. you wanna ask
Okay.
any questions?
My first question.
Right.
What first book have you wrote?
My very, very, very first book was written, even though I didn't even know I was going to be a writer. I had two daughters, and my husband at the time was in publishing, and he was looking for two girls to be in a story that was to do with My Sister Learns Ballet. My elder daughter was actually doing ballet, and my younger daughter wasn't doing ballet. So they got photographs taken of the girls, one of them in normal dress and the other one in a ballet outfit, doing the things that you have to do when you learn ballet. And they got the little girl doing all the things wrong because she didn't know how to do ballet. And they took photographs of all of that. And
Really?
what my job was to write the parts that were happening, the words to the story. And that was my very, very first one. And although it's a long time ago, and about 1983, I think, it's amazing there are some people even now today who have that book in the library and still remember it. It's probably not one of my best, but it was my first.
Yeah. What was that story called?
My Sister Learns Ballet.
My Sister Learns
My
Ballet.
sister learned
Oh,
ballet.
Cool.
Sorry?
My sisters learned ballet.
That's right, that's right. Yes.
Ballet.
Yes.
Fantastic. And that was 1983.
About 1983, I
Woo.
think, yeah.
Very good.
Oh, I
Very good.
wasn't even born.
No, I hardly was even born.
I was born in the 80s, so...
All right. Let's throw it over to Dougie. Dougie, did you have a question there?
Just remind me of what I should ask Janeen.
So one of your questions was maybe about where Janeen.
Where were you born, Janeen?
Well, interestingly enough, Dougie, I was born here in Brighton, not actually where I'm sitting now, but right by the railway line near High Railway Crossing.
Have you seen me walking around?
So
Have you seen me walking around?
Interesting.
very, very close.
Interesting Tutti just made me Brighton.
I know, I know.
Is here.
I know, isn't that wonderful? Well, all of Brighton, all of the area around where we're talking, you know, Brighton Jetty, the beach, Brighton Primary School, all of that was my playground when I was growing up.
Wow.
So the beach and everything like that figures a lot in my stories
Cool.
and poems. So Brighton is very much part of who I am as a person and who I am as a writer. And now I live at Glenelg. So
Glenelg.
I haven't moved very far away.
My parents live in Glenelg.
Do they?
Not north, but they live in what do you call it? when they used to live in Melbourne North, they
Yeah.
still did, but they now have an apartment.
There are apartments around that area, aren't there?
I
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
to know.
apartment for
Yes.
promenade.
Okay. Well, I live in a house. I've got a dog and
Ooh.
2 chooks, and those chooks have names.
What are their names?
Meadow and Rapunzel.
Wow,
And
Rapunzel.
even if we get new chooks, they're always still called Meadow and Rapunzel.
What about your dog?
Our dog's name is Raffy, and he's a beautiful
Raffy.
a black and white border collie.
I got black cat. I have a.
Yeah.
We have chickens at my house.
Oh yeah. Do they have names?
Yeah, outside.
Yeah. Is that one of their names outside?
No,
Outside, inside.
Yeah.
Outside, inside, yeah.
I've got chooks as well, and their names are. And anyway, we're getting distracted.
Easily to be distracted, isn't it?
All right, let's- All right. Emmy, did you have a question you wanted to ask?
I mean, do I want it to be Megan?
Oh, Megan, whoever wants to go first.
Megan.
All right, we'll go to one of Megan's questions. Megan, what's one of your questions?
How did you get your book illustrated?
That's interesting, Megan, because I'm not an illustrator. I don't illustrate my books, and most authors don't illustrate their own books, and there's a good reason for that, and that is that you have to be a very good trained illustrator in order for a publisher to take on drawing the pictures or illustrating them in whatever form is best for that story. So I don't illustrate them, so who does? So what happens is that if a publisher likes your book, then it goes to illustrators if they have time, because it can sometimes take years. If they have time to illustrate and they like the book, they'll say yes. If they don't like the book, they'll say no. Or if they don't have time, they'll also say no. And then what they'll do is that they won't start doing the whole pictures to start off with. What they do is they do a storyboard. I don't know if you know about storyboards, but they're like, you cut, a picture book is 32 pages, so they cut the pages all in squares and do little tiny pictures called thumbnail sketches in those pictures to give an idea of how the pictures all might look together. And then they do what they call roughs, which are tiny little character sketches in black and white. They don't go to all the trouble of putting colour or anything until the publisher and the art director has seen it and approved, said yes, that's okay. Then they start doing the work, and as I said, sometimes it can take years, and they have to do a lot of books at the same time sometimes. So it's a very long process. I had a book that was accepted, that means the publisher was going to publish it, and it was probably about 2 or 3 years before it even came out.
Wow.
So it's not a quick fix. It's not saying, I've written a book, the publisher likes it, the illustrator's doing some pictures, and it's going to come out next week.
Yeah.
It's not like that at all. And it's a lot of children think that that's what happens. They think, oh, can you write a story and will it have my name in it, and will you post it to me when it's finished? So it doesn't work like that.
And it's a good reminder of how many people are involved.
Absolutely, Matt. There are probably, I would say, I don't know, there's publishers, editors, printers, art directors, illustrators, and all sorts of other types of people like accounting, marketing, sales, all of that. I don't know how many would be involved in the actual thing, but it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And it's a lot of money too.
Yeah.
So I've got 2 picture books here.
Ooh, excellent.
But a lot of them, they would cost thousands and thousands and thousands to publish. So they don't take picture books lightly. They're very expensive to publish.
So the books that Janeen was just showing, we've got
There are 2 of them.
little chickabee, which has got a beautiful illustration of a pig
Yeah.
with a bird sitting on its head.
look
And
like
then-
pipe or something.
And that one's illustrated
lip,
with Danny
Danny
Snell.
Snell, who's also an Adelaide illustrator.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then the second one, did you want to?
Yes, the second one's called I'm a Dirty Dinosaur. And
Ah.
that's illustrated by Anne James. I'm a Dirty Dinosaur is published by
I'm a dirty.
Penguin,
Yep.
and this is
Dirty.
published by Little Book Press, which is an Adelaide publishing
Yeah,
company.
brilliant.
And once again, I'm always overawed by the fantastic illustrations
Ah,
that are done, because when you look at a picture book, what's the first thing you look at?
the pictures.
The pictures, and that's what's going to
Oh.
excite children to pick up a
Exactly.
book or not.
I
And then
think
the-
about how the illustrating style can really define a book. Something like Where the Wild Things Are
Yes.
has a very distinctive style. And
Yes.
one that I grew up reading, Murgatroyd's Garden.
Yes, I
Um,
remember that.
And, about a kid that never wants to wash his hair, and so a giant
That's
garden
right,
grows in
things
it.
grow out. Is that
Yeah.
right? Things
Yeah,
grow
yeah,
out?
yeah, and a full garden grows in his hair.
Yes.
I'll never forget the
No,
illustrations and that,
no.
but also the story.
Yes.
I could relate to it.
Yes.
All right, Emmy, you had a question, didn't you?
Yes, I do. Do you have any advice for young writers?
I have lots of advice for young writers, and it usually starts off with there are two things you have to do. And one of them is read, and one of them is write. And it sounds very, very simple, but a lot of people say to me, I really want to be an author. And I say, well, are you writing anything? Oh, well, I've got ideas in my head. And I say, that's no good leaving them out there. You've got to actually write them. You've got to write them. So by reading or listening to stories, podcasts, anything like that, you're going to get the sense of a story going on in your head. You're going to hear language. You're going to hear the rhythm of stories and so on and so forth. The more that you can read for yourself or listen to audiobooks or podcasts, the more ideas you're going to get as well. And the other thing is that to be a writer, you have to be a wanderer and a noticer. And that means when you walk around, you don't walk with your eyes shut, you don't walk with your ears closed, you look about always, and you have, as I have in here, a little notebook.
Excellent.
And in that, you
I've got
write,
a little notebook.
have you, in that you write down any little odd thing that you might have seen or noticed or interested you. Don't try and write anything that doesn't interest you, because it's going to come across as boring because you're bored with it. Another thing would be, as I said, to wonder about things. So, when I go out and I talk to children at schools, I say, do you wonder about things? What do you wonder? Do you wonder about why a bee buzzes instead of chirps? Or do you wonder why the sea is blue instead of purple? Or do you wonder, and they will tell me things. Another good idea is to ask yourself two words, and they are what if. So if we might be sitting here as we are in this setup here, and we might say, well, what if that window suddenly opened and a giant foot came through?
Whoa.
We're sitting here.
It's very Monty Python.
What if the doors were suddenly opened and a mass of spaghetti came rushing in?
Oh, that might
And then,
think.
we're just sitting here, and you can just throw those ideas out, and suddenly you've got an idea. The next thing, Naomi, is that you've got this idea, but what do you do with it? You've got to start thinking about who you want in your story.
What the characters would be
And
like.
that's right, a character. What does that character want? You might have a character who sees this spaghetti coming in. What does he want? Does he want to eat it? Does he want to stop it from filling the whole room? Does he want to save the people who are inside here? Does he want to get out quickly? Does he want to call someone? What is his most important
So like
thing
a
that he wants?
the jetty monster or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, the spaghetti jetty monster.
Yeah.
So, those two words, what if, really help stimulate a lot. So having a notebook is really important.
Yep.
But if you're a person, like I was saying to Megan before, that I don't illustrate, but I sometimes draw little pictures in my notebooks.
Yes.
I don't know that I've got one here because I use lots and lots of them, but I do use diagrams to get ideas and brainstorm things like that, because our brains don't automatically give us the exact answers to everything.
Yeah.
You have to actually throw down lots of ideas so that you've got lots more choices,
Yeah.
and you can do that either by brainstorming, or sometimes if I'm thinking about something, I might just draw a little picture. That doesn't make me an illustrator. That means that I want to use the other side of my brain to get some ideas or to help me out of a problem. Because if I'm writing, I might get stuck on where do I go next, what do I do next. So I might think, okay, if I've got this dinosaur and he's in this park, and what's going to happen next, and I might not have thought it through enough, so I might just draw a little picture of the dinosaur and say, what do you want to do, dinosaur? What do you want to do? Do you want to race here? Do you want to dive in the pool? What do you want to do? And I can do that because no one else is there in the room, no one's listening, and I can maybe get some answers in my head.
Yeah, cool.
So drawing helps a lot as well. You don't always have to just write words. You can draw sketches, or even look at photographs. That's another
Or
way.
cartoons on
Ideas.
TV.
Sorry?
Cartoons on TV.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Very good.
So,
Cool. All right. James, you had another question you wanted to ask?
My other questions about TV. Have you been on TV?
I have been on TV.
Also here.
Have you? What were you on TV for?
Multiple things.
Lots of different things?
Like the Down syndrome per se.
Okay, cool.
We had to celebrate for Down syndrome. People that have Down syndrome.
Yeah, cool.
I don't have Down syndrome. I wasn't born with it. I just have it.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. But so you there was a TV segment on that.
I was just only there to support the people that have Down syndrome.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, all right. Did you have to speak, or were you there?
Yeah,
You had to speak. You had to talk about it.
I was talking about it with the person that had the camera.
Right.
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay.
Well, I've been on TV a lot of times too, because I got Tutti Arts.
Yes.
One's a online film festival.
Yeah.
Ah, that's right. Yeah, so was that with Sit Down, Shut Up and Watch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great.
Yeah, that's
I've
the
seen that.
film festival, yeah.
Been on ABC and other SBS and all that stuff.
Fantastic. Well, my TV, a couple of things. One is that I used to do television commercials.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
And radio work and commercials and things like that. That was in a time when I wasn't teaching. I was actually a teacher. And then I went into a little bit of acting, and then I got some work with to do television commercials. So I did a few hundred of those over the years.
Wow.
So that was a bit of money earner.
Yeah. What was your favourite television commercial?
Oh, I can't remember. I think there was one that they were talking about called Egg Combo, and I actually had to put 4 eggs in my fingers like that as part of making it. It was almost like a frittata.
Yeah,
But they called
okay.
it in those days an egg combo. But I was terrified these eggs were going to slip out of
Yeah.
the fingers. So there was
Feel a
that.
little weird.
Sorry?
Didn't it feel a little
Yes.
weird in front of your fingers?
Very, very weird. You try it one day. See what you think.
Okay.
I feel like sometimes when I'm collecting the eggs from the chooks, I'm
Chooks.
having to do that. My hands are full of eggs. I'm just like, I'm going to drop them for sure.
Have you got a bucket?
Yeah, I need a bucket.
You do need a basket. What else? I've done also a television show that only lasted a very short time, which was called You Don't Say, which was a mime show.
Oh,
with
I've
groups of
seen
panels.
that.
Yeah, cool.
Have you?
And then there was just talking generally about writing sometimes, so things like that. Not a huge amount, but enough.
Yeah.
Probably more than a lot of people.
Yeah.
And that's just all ABC shows, right?
No, I haven't been in any ABC shows or anything like that. Just introducing, talking about books or something.
Oh, like Channel
that.
44 or something like that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll move on. So, Dougie, you had another question?
What was it?
So you had questions about kids or about Writers Week?
Oh yeah, do you have any kids?
I do have 2 daughters.
Yeah,
they
2
are-
daughters, yeah.
I have 2 daughters. One is called Natalie. She was my first daughter,
Natalie.
my daughter. And my-
Natalie, that's a nice name.
It is a nice
We got
name.
Nathy at Tutti Arts here.
And then
Yeah, we do.
And then we have Cassie, that's my younger daughter. Now both those daughters have their own children,
The Cassie and Natalie.
Cassie and Natalie. Natalie
But
has,
I'm children now.
they have, yes, I have a 20-year-old grandson and a 7-year-old, no, and an 8-year-old grandson and a 7-year-old granddaughter and a 5-year-old granddaughter.
Wow.
So
that's
we've
lovely.
got a lot of children
Aw.
around still, which is really,
You're
really
officially
nice.
an auntie now. then.
I'm officially a grandmother.
Grandmother.
And
Grandmother.
Matt,
Yeah.
Officially.
My
I should
aunt's
tell
an
her.
auntie.
Matt,
Yeah.
I should tell her about how many kids my mum had.
Oh yeah, do you want to?
My mum had 5 boys.
All at once. So Dougie's got 4 brothers that he was born with.
Whoa, 4 brothers. That's a lot for your mother.
Yeah,
You had more than I did.
yeah.
I
And then
did.
I've got 2 nieces to put on the back.
Oh,
Okay.
that's nice.
Okay.
I didn't even have 5 people in my family. I had more than 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. And Dougie, you had a follow-up question about kids, didn't you?
Yeah. Do you read? Do you read to your kids?
I absolutely do, Dougie. This is one of my number one things that, first of all, I love to read to children. I always read to my own daughters, and now I get to read to my grandchildren, but I also read to, if I go out to schools to talk to children, I always read to them because I think a lot of children these days don't get stories read to them.
Is that either number 1 their parents are busy, or number 2
Absolutely.
they've got work?
Absolutely, spot on. And I think that the most important thing you can do is to read, because I think if you are sitting with your child reading, that child will remember stories more than anything, but they will also remember the fact that you were spending time with them, and they will remember the fact that you were close. You might have your arm around them, or you might be snuggled up in bed, or whatever. There is that lovely bond, that closeness that
Bedtime
never
story.
leaves you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I'll never forget my dad reading to me growing up, you know. It's just, we read all the Harry Potter books. It was amazing.
Oh God. Yeah.
See,
No,
that's-
I
yeah.
normally read books to my sister and my brother.
Oh, that's
Do
nice.
you? That's fantastic.
I had
of you.
to sing my sister to bed one night.
Did
Aw.
you sing? Oh, that's beautiful too.
Yeah.
That's
My
beautiful.
favourite author was J.K. Rowling and that guy from Lionel Mojo.
C.J. Lewis.
The Harry
C-
Potter ones.
C.
Yeah, yeah.
C.J. No.
C.L.
C.J.
I
See
think
something,
it's-
Lewis.
I think it's C.S. Lewis.
C.S.
Yeah.
C.S. Lewis. There we
C.S.
go.
Lewis.
C.S. Lewis.
Yeah.
He was a very good writer. I thought he was very
He
good
is
about
good.
Lionel Mojo.
Very
I went to
creative.
see the show as well.
Oh, there was a show of it.
Here in Sydney.
Yeah, cool.
Over in Sydney. Awesome.
I know he lives in Sydney.
I was.
Yeah, Guy Sebastian.
Oh,
Yes.
He's coming to Adelaide this November.
I'm
He was
very
born
excited.
here, wasn't he? Did
Yeah,
you know
he's
that?
Adelaide
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
One of
Yep,
them.
me
I
too.
haven't met him, but I know his brother Chris.
All right, let's power on. Megan, you've got another question?
Do you need to study become a writer?
Do I need to study to become a writer? Look, that's a very interesting question because
So we do.
a lot of people do, and a lot of people have studied, and there are lots of courses now at university and other online courses that you can do to study. When I was young, all I wanted to do was to become a teacher. I hadn't actually thought of becoming a writer at all. And it was only when I had children, my 2 daughters that I was telling you about, that I
Yeah.
thought maybe I would start trying to see if I could write, but not for any reason, not to become a writer, just to write because I like to read and I loved words.
Yeah.
So I actually, in answer to your question, didn't do any professional study whatsoever. I did a little bit of a course where in those days there was, you could write something and send it away to TAFE, an organisation called TAFE, and they would respond and say how you were going with your lessons and your ideas and so forth. And I did that because that was all that was available. When I was growing up, there was not very many courses for people to become writers. And so everything that I learned from the library, going down to the Brighton Library, the Glenelg Library, pulling out books about how to write. And I pretty well taught myself, and now I have nearly 110 books published.
Wow.
So it's been a hard journey, and part of me wishes that I had been able to study, because maybe I would have, it might have been an easier road had I known a lot of things that I had to find out for myself in the hard way by getting lots and lots of rejections.
Yeah.
That means when things come back to you, they don't want them, which still happens. But in the other way, by learning it myself, I really struggled, but then I really feel pleased that I've been able to tackle something and reap rewards from something that I didn't even know I was going to do or could do.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Cool. All right, great question, Megan. Should we all go over to E?
Yep. That's me now. Oh, I've got a lot of good questions. I'm going to choose. I'm just going to go for my second one.
Yep.
What's your favourite food?
Oh, my favourite food, it would have to be, I love food, by the way. I love food, but that's not the answer you want. The answer you want is if I was to really say, I love roast pork and applesauce.
Yeah.
Oh, yummy.
I love that.
Ooh.
I love that. And I love, as I said to me, I do love all sorts of different types of food, different nationalities of food and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But if someone said, like you just said, what is your favourite? I would probably have to say, roast pork with the roast vegetables.
How about food based on your stories?
Sorry?
How about food that based on your stories?
Food based on
Have you done that yet?
No, but what I do is I always try and bring food into my stories because children love reading about food. And with this book...
But if you do, you get hungry.
Well, it depends what kind of food you put in it. This book, which is called Eloise and the Bucket of Stars, came out last year, and this story is about a girl who was in an orphanage a long time ago, just a story, in England, and the food they had that was cooked up was very, very awful. Rotten potatoes, boiled onions, mouldy cabbage, all that kind of thing. So I always put that in because children go, you know.
I was going,
Yes,
I would definitely do that if I was old.
yes, but then if you can put something luscious in it, later on, or you do it in a different story, children like. Food is a very important part of our living, of our social getting together and.
But not healthy, not unhealthy food, because they're not good for you.
No, absolutely not unhealthy food. So I'm very, very keen on healthy food, and I try and put that into with other stories, but not food that needs to have yuck food. in it.
It reminded me of, I don't know if anyone here's read or seen the film, I think it was Holes.
Oh yes.
And I remember at one point the boy gets lost in the desert and it's he's starving and all this kind of stuff, and then he comes across an onion patch, and it's just the relief of finding food and eating the onion, and it's just eating an onion would be something that would be so icky, but it's just but because he was starving, it was just the sense of relief of him finding the onions was amazing. And interesting.
There's nothing else, so food is food.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just
Do we
eat
Louise
fruit.
Sachar? I'm just trying to think of the author of that.
Yeah,
Louise Sachar.
I wouldn't have
think
read it
that
for a
was
long time.
Yeah, that was an amazing book.
Yeah.
Just digging holes for the sake of digging holes.
Oh.
Sad,
Was
sad,
that
sad.
a movie? Or was
Yeah,
that
they made it. It was a
They made
book
it
and then
into a
a
movie.
Yeah. Well, that leads well into James's next question.
Which is...
Well, what made this set? But have your books been on live on cartoons or
Yeah, they
film
have, yeah.
movies?
I have made, for the publishers, I've made films about them, particularly during COVID. But
Yeah, COVID.
this one has been read on a program called Storybox, and that is where they have particular.
Sorry, I can't see it.
There
So
we
this
go.
is I'm a Dirty Dinosaur for our listeners at home.
And it's where they take particular people, they could be celebrities or whatever, and they get them to read the story on a book program. So the children, if they're home, they can watch the program of someone.
And that being a
reading.
cartoon, right? Also,
No, this isn't to do with cartoons. It's,
so that being like a cartoon, like the cartoon version of it,
Like an animation.
animated.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, they actually read the whole book as the book itself. Yeah, so they would be, they would start off by saying,
How about play school or something
I'm
like
a
that?
dirty dinosaur with a dirty snout. I never wipe it clean. I just sniff and snuff about. Sniff, sniff, snuff, snuff. Sniff and snuff about. So they would read it exactly like that.
Really?
But
How about
the animation, no.
no, like play school instinct?
No.
Play School, yes. Some of my books have been read on Play School. And this one, Yong, The Journey of an Unworthy Son. This is about a boy who had to go down, a Chinese boy, hundreds of years ago, had to go down to a place called Robe in South Australia. And there were many, many thousands of Chinese who had to walk to the goldfields in Ballarat and Bendigo in the gold rush days of the 1850s. And this is a story about a boy who did not want to go, but his father was the head man of the village and he had to go. So the reason they were at Robe was that they had booked a passage to go to the Victorian goldfields, and the captains because there was a tax, they were not allowed to drop any more Chinese off in any Victorian port, but they'd be taxed. The captains would be taxed. So they dropped them off at Robe, which is in South Australia, and made these Chinese walk 500 kilometres in this strange land.
Oh.
And it was a devastating tragedy of all sorts of prejudice and so forth. So this is a story about that, a boy who did it, and I researched it, and there were boys.
Yeah.
But this book, getting a long story round to it, is going to be made into a performance, a play that is being written by a screenwriter at the moment in Sydney.
Cool.
And it's going to tour most of the states, Adelaide, of course.
Yeah.
If they don't, I'll be very mad. They will.
If they don't have to go to 18.
So that's going to be made into a play. But the other thing, which isn't to do with film so much, but it's what happens sometimes with your books that you certainly don't expect. This character has been made into a statue of about this big.
So for our listeners at home, this is the character on the front of the book, I'm a Dirty Dinosaur. And there's a very dirty dinosaur on the front of the book.
Really muddy one too.
And that mud is real mud. So the illustrator has used real mud to put on the book.
Not drawing, is it?
The director, designer, there's a good picture of it here, and it's actually mud that she's used as the illustration process. So this dinosaur that's lolling and rolling in the mud is actually a huge statue that's been put down in a story walk park down at a place called Thalassa Park. So you can go down there and you can see all these characters from storybooks like Mr. Percival from Storm Boy and Grug and other characters. So this dirty dinosaur is down there being dirty down there.
So they did on Photoshop, did they? Photoshop for eating
For making
the cover book.
I really don't know about the process.
That'd be an illustrated question,
Sorry.
wouldn't
Yes,
it?
that would be an illustrated question. Sorry.
All right, Dougie, I think you had another question.
What was it?
So you had a couple of questions, one about Writers Week and one also about writing as a kid.
Have you been to what, Writers Week?
I have been to Writers' Week, Dougie. I went last year? Yeah, no, this year. This year.
Yeah.
But I just went to watch. But I have been in the kids' tent once where I talked about one of my books, which was all about Ned Kelly,
Ooh.
who was a famous or infamous,
Ned Kelly.
yes, bushranger. And I'll tell you a funny story about that because when I was out in a school one time, I held up the book that had Ned Kelly's photograph, and I said, "Does anyone know who Ned Kelly is?" And one little boy put up his hand, who was very, very excited. He said, "I know who Ned Kelly is. He's a famous bushwalker." Instead of bushranger. So that was lovely. But he knew who he was. He knew who he was. Yeah, so I have talked one time in the kids' tent where some authors go. Sometimes I have authors from other states too, Dougie, not just South Australia.
Very good. All right, Megan, you had another question? I think yours is about...
What's that?
It's about music?
What's your favorite music?
It can be anything.
I know, it can be anything. I'm just thinking of things I don't like. I don't like heavy metal, I'm sorry, but I do like classical music. I like rock. I like...
You need children with you, like.
Sorry?
You need children with you, like.
Children's music. Well, I love Peter Coombs' music.
We've interviewed Peter Coombe on the show.
He is fantastic.
Yeah, it's lovely.
He just has that great fun feeling with his
Do
music.
I even remember this?
No, this was before you joined Radio Tutti.
It's like last year ago.
That was last year.
We had
last
we
year.
had Peter Coombe over Zoom.
Yeah, we
Did
had him
you?
over Zoom when we were still in lockdown.
We had to.
Yeah.
Did you sing that one about orange juice? Wash your hair with orange juice?
Yeah, she did.
I think that was the one that he sang, yeah.
It'll be on my YouTube account.
No,
Oh, it's on your YouTube account.
Yeah.
Matt,
Yeah.
I reckon it was once that he had cancelled his mum, remember?
What was that?
Once he had cancelled, remember?
Oh yeah. We had to postpone, but that's all part of the just lining up an interview. Can't help it. So Janeen, do you write while listening to music ever, or do you?
That's another interesting. I know people who do. If they want to, a friend of mine writes a lot of historical novels that are set in other countries.
Yeah.
And so she will put music on that has that kind of feel for that country.
Yeah.
Another one I know, if she wants to write a really tense, dramatic scene, she'll put that kind of music on. Or other people will put very calming music on and get them to lull into this zone of writing.
Yeah.
I'm not like that.
No, and I can't.
Can't?
I
Too
know
distracting?
I know the best thing is not to have any music that has words in it because you start listening to the words
Yeah.
and then your brain says, hang on, I'm listening to the words and I'm not thinking about my word. So I tend to write in silence. And in fact, if there's the only sounds I like are bird sounds if they come through from the window or something like that. But apart from that, no, I really don't like writing to any sounds at all. And lots of people are like that. I wouldn't write in a cafe. Like J.K. Rowling wrote in a cafe. Lots of friends write in cafes. I can't do that.
Yeah,
I need that silence, and a lot of people I know do the same.
Yeah, interesting.
Well, I am making books too, but mine were video stories.
Video stories?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. I remember the one that was at your exhibition recently, I think. It was I think it was the pinball machine or the clock flying into space and
ITV.
Yeah, that's right. All right, well, we'll keep on pushing on. Imi, did you want to ask one of your questions?
Yeah, I only got 2 more left. Oof, I don't know which one.
Well, we might have covered a little bit, but what the questions are saying. But I'll still ask the question.
Did you learn to write books through school?
When we were at school, Emmy, we really didn't do very much writing at all. On a Friday, we might have to write something called composition. that meant you had to write a page or half a page on a topic that the teacher set. So you didn't get a choice as to what you would like to write, and then you also were marked down if you got a word wrong or something like that. So it didn't let you express yourself very much at all. So I can't say that I did very much in the way of writing when I was a child. I didn't even do very much at home. And unfortunately we didn't have very many books at my house either, so I didn't get to read anything very much, only if I could borrow a book from a friend, because I never even went to a library. We didn't have a library either there at school, so
wow.
it was a case of I think it was just inside of me, so I didn't really do very much writing at all when I was at school, and I would say that was the case for most people growing up when I grew up. And even when I was at high school we did a bit of writing, but not how people are able to write their own stories or get their own ideas now.
I write my own books as well.
Fantastic.
So you do other books too, not just kids ones, like adult ones and...
I did a lot of short stories. I wrote for magazines.
Yeah.
I wrote 11 scripts for Here's Humphrey once upon a time.
Cool.
That was a television program with a big Humphrey Bear.
Humphrey B. Bear. Oh, fantastic.
But I did do some, and I've won some awards for my adult poetry. But my main love has always been for children, so I write for children. That's my main profession.
Your main hobby, yeah.
Well, it's a profession really, so it's the career that I've chosen. So I've been writing now full time since 1990, and a long time before that, so 35 plus years that I've been writing. Was there another part of that question that was...
I don't think so. Just about when did you start keeping a notebook for your writing?
A little bit later. When I first started, I didn't actually, because I didn't assume that I was going to be a writer, I would write if I saw something or if someone needed a poem or something like that, but I didn't actually start setting out the aspects of being a writer for quite some years after that. But I've got dozens and dozens and dozens of those little writing books, and also the other books that I use. Most mornings I write 3 pages without stopping.
Wow.
So what that does is it just unblocks the rubbish that's in your head. I have weird dreams, but I don't write them down. I just try and clear my head before I start my actual writing. I just clear my head. Now I don't stop to think about what I'm writing here. This is just any kind of rubbish that comes out. 3 pages. It's like pulling the plug out of the bath, the water rushes through, you've got a clean bath to start your own writing.
Yeah, brilliant.
And these are ideas books that I keep with me all the time too, so they, as I showed you before, might be brainstorming. Yesterday I wrote a picture book, and there was just some little notes that I was taking as I was trying to get my ideas and thoughts down. So I've always got these little, I don't choose anything special, because I got dozens and dozens of these. And if it's too special, you're too frightened to use them. You think, oh, that's too special. What if I don't write something good?
Well, I got your story for you now.
Oh, okay.
A story about you being on Tutti Radio.
Never know. You never know. Even if it's not exactly the same, you never know.
We can change some of the story.
I could change it, and who knows? And I always say that, who knows, because I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to write about next until I get a feeling for it or I get an idea for it.
So we've actually got a new person joining the program today, and it looks like they've just arrived. So this will be interesting to navigate while we're live on air. But while this is happening, does anybody have any other questions that they would like to ask Janeen?
Well,
No other questions?
I think I might remember a book at school years ago.
Oh yeah, you remember reading?
Yeah, one of your books on the
Really?
library, school library.
Yes.
And it can't be more
What
cool.
it's called, do you?
It could be the pig one, maybe.
Do you?
Could be the pig one.
Thank you.
Apparently we got Michael coming.
Yeah, so this will be an interesting just little feature of the interview is to have Michael with us live on air.
Okay, this is Michael's first time.
Yes,
Is
this
it
is
your
Michael's
time?
first
Hi,
time
Michael.
on Radio Tutti. So yeah. Anyway, Michael, this is Janeen Bryant. So she's an author and poet. So she's been joining us today. So unless anybody else has any final questions they would like.
What's your question, Matt?
Oh, did I have a question? Oh, I did have a question actually. My question is, what was your first favorite book that you remember having?
I remember one that my mother read me, and that was probably the only one I do remember, which was called King, the Duck. And it's about a little duck in China that wanders away from the family and gets lost on this big Yangtze River. And I remember feeling very sad at the time, but it's a book that I've always remembered. And what I was trying to do, I wasn't trying to be rude, but I was just thinking if we're coming to an end now, I thought I might read you.
Oh, we would absolutely
a
love
little
that.
poem.
Yeah.
This is a book that's just come out. It's not all of my poetry, but it's just what happens is that sometimes overseas, editors will say, we're going to write a book on magic or wizards or witches or whatever. If you've got something or would like to write, send it in and we might publish it and you get paid. Now I sent about 4 or 5 poems in, and this book was published in England.
Yep.
It's called Fire, Burn, Cauldron, Bubble, Magical Poems.
Great name.
And it is, isn't it? And so...
So you said England?
Sorry?
You said it's from England?
I sent it to England.
Yeah,
And
cool.
Did they change all
I've been
the?
to England.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
Did
it's
they-
to England.
Did they change all the? So if the book, if one of your books go to some other country and they have to
Yep,
change some of the words, so it
Yeah.
won't be.
they do.
Yeah.
A lot of my books have been translated. One of my books called Where Does Thursday Go has been translated into about 13 languages.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Spanish, Dutch, Japanese, Portuguese, all sorts of languages. So that's not something I do, that's organised by the publisher. But I'll read you this little poem now. It's called A Wizard on His Bike.
Oh,
A wizard on his bike has a song for every spell. And he sings them as he pedals. And he sings them very well. A spell for high, a spell for low, a spell for shrink, a spell for grow, a spell for colour, one for plain, a spell for cures, and one for pain, a spell for wood, a spell for wire, but nothing for his bike's flat tyre.
Wow.
So I just thought I'd read you that as a bit of fun to
That's
finish off.
that's wonderful.
I've never seen a wizard on a bike before.
Whistle on the back. Oh, I can see it now.
I think I missed one of my questions. And I
Oh yeah. Did you wanna finish on one? Of
Yeah. How old were you when you started writing the book?
I think I was probably in my 30s when I first started writing.
Cool.
Yeah, so I didn't start writing when I was at school really, or at high school. And then, as I said, I started teaching when I became a teacher. So I started teaching at.
What school was
I
that?
went to Teachers College at 16
Oh yeah.
and started teaching a Year 5 class at 18. And then I loved reading to the Year 5 class and all the other classes that I had after that. And then I started doing other things as well, and that's when I started writing. And particularly when I had my 2 daughters that I was telling you about, I was writing little poems and stories for them.
What school was that?
What school was that? My first school was a school called St. Maurice,
Mm.
which was way out the other side.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And
I've been past that before.
have you?
I went to school with St. John's in Been there.
Oh yeah.
You've been there?
I know that.
Never heard.
All right. Well, we might wrap things up there. So thank you so much for joining us,
Pleasure.
Janeen Bryant.
Thank
It's
you
been an
very
absolute
much,
privilege.
Matt, and
So
James and
thank you very much.
Amy and Dougie and Megan.
What station you been listening to?
Radio Tutti
Radio
for
Tutti.
kids.
Excellent. And my name's been Matt, and I've been joined by...
James.
Me.
And you.
We've got Michael joining us for the first time. Pleasure to have you on board, Michael.
And Janeen.
Janeen, and then over Zoom.
Oh, come on, you two.
Okay.
Megan.
Megan, excellent. We got there. Technology can be funny sometimes. So, again, thank you very much, Janeen, for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
I'll see you next time on Tutti Radio.
Oh.
Listen up on Tutti Radio on my YouTube, kids.
Fantastic. Thank you so
And-
much for joining us, Janeen.
Just let you know, kids, there's some other new guests coming next week on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah, we,
And
I think
he
we've got
be Snotbottom,
next Wednesday,
Mr. Snotbottom, kids.
oh, yes, Mr. Snotbottom. We've got Mr. Snotbottom next week.
Yes.
He's a-
He's a performer, isn't he?
Yeah. I think he'll be
Yes.
joining us via the Zooms, but
We were sick last week. So,
yeah. Funny enough, he was sick last week, so he couldn't join us.
Oh dear.
So you're welcome to, if you wanted to. We'll finish up here in about 15 minutes. I don't know if you wanted to see the premises or something like that. I could show you around, but also if you just need to head off, that's
I will head off
All
this time. I do get to see some people in the choir sometimes.
Oh, brilliant.
Because I know quite a few of them there, and
yeah, cool.
Oh, yeah.
so yes, I like to go and.
Wait,
That's how I started.
The choir
Yeah, brilliant.
here.
Your choir, the Tutti choir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also I know
I
people,
know
the
some-
sisters.
Sisters of Invention. Yeah, they're fantastic.
Well, you
I
don't know
some
yet.
people in the choir.
Yeah, cool.
Well, you don't know yet. Come to the film festival
Oh yeah, it's a film festival.
When's that?
next year online.
Oh, next year. Oh well, I'll have to keep in touch, won't I?
Excellent.
Actually, I can subscribe to Tutti, can't I?
You went down the
Information.
Yeah. I
Donations.
think there's a newsletter.
Yeah.
I'm pretty bad with that stuff.
Oh,
but,
me too, don't worry.
yeah.
we don't have no date yet, but it'll be online on
Yeah.
Okay,
the
Well-
computer world, the lessons, and
Yeah.
okay.
So we've got about sort of 5 to 7 minutes left.
Yeah,
So
19.
yeah, and then I'll need to pack down this room. But just because we've got Michael here, how are you going, Michael? You good? Excellent. So it's a pleasure to meet you, and to have you here on air with us. So normally when we do our shows, we have a lot of different playlists that we have for different times of the day. So today, because we had Janeen coming in, we were working on our Saturday morning kids playlist. So I don't know if you have any songs that you like that kids might like to listen to on a Saturday morning? None that you can think of? Oh, that's good, thank you. Well, what we might do is we'll just finish recording the end of our kids show, so you can have a listen to what it's like when we're doing our show, just so you can get a bit of an idea of what it's like. Sound good? Excellent. All right. Well, I think we're up to Megan. So what we'll do is we'll just. Oh, you're welcome to stay if you want, but yeah, we'll start recording. So we're up to Megan. So what we might do is. It would have been Dougie that... Oh, no, it would have been James that did the last song. So do you want to welcome everybody back to the kids' show and then ask Megan what she wants to hear?
Yep.
All
Yep.
right. So let me just hit record. All right, when you're...